We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
With global pals, it's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about
Everything theater from A to Z, and I think that's almost Ellen and me. Hi, I'm Benita Zahn.
And I am Ellen Cribbs. And this episode is sponsored by our lovely Harbinger Theater, who are local to our 518. They're doing a production of Dig by Teresa Rebeck. It's a collaboration with the Sand Lake Center for the Arts. So Harbinger, Sand Lake, it's a beautiful partnership. Let me tell you a little bit about it. A dying plant shop in a dying urban neighborhood receives a visitor from the past, Megan, the neighborhood screw-up, whose suicide attempt followed a terrible tragedy. Roger, the store owner, wants nothing to do with the situation, but Megan is improbably clinging to life. Can a soul beyond saving be saved? A play about courage, redemption, and photosynthesis. It is running from April 21st through the April 30th. There's a free performance on the 20th. So there you go, at the Sand Lake Center for the Arts. Check it out. We'll post about it on our Facebook page.
I'm buying the ticket. Sounds great to me.
Absolutely.
So we want to know if Rebecca Weiss wants to come on up and see.
Absolutely. A good
Rebecca,
Teresa Rebeck, yes, yeah.
She's our guest. And Rebecca, you've had a varied career in theater, and now you are with one of the preeminent casting companies, McCorkle Casting.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get from, we started early with A to Z, but right now you're at M. How does that happen?
Yes, it's been like a varied journey in the industry, but all sort of related to each other. Like many people in casting, I started as a performer when I was young, and studied theater and music when I was an undergrad, and kind of when I was a student, as much as I loved performing, always had a little bit of the back of my brain that was sort of interested in the other side of the table, whatever that meant. So I started a theater company as an undergraduate with some friends, and that got me into kind of producing and seeing the kind of behind the scenes of it all. And from there, started out as an intern in several really great theater companies, that one that happened to be in the Berkshires, and that sort of introduced me to Western Massachusetts, where my career kind of led me a few years later. So I started as an intern in the artistic department, and what that usually means is you are involved in choosing scripts, casting, and kind of the hiring of artistic staff members, putting creative teams together, all of that kind of stuff, which I really loved. So that kind of replaced my love of performing, or at least became something that I could really sink my teeth into, and I found kind of my footing there. And so I got a job at a regional theater, Barrington Stage Company in the Berkshires, which I had kind of a introduction to because I had this internship in the Berkshires, and kind of fell in love with that side of things. And with them, I did a lot of casting. We had like a 9-show season every year. So we were in auditions for several months of the year in the city. And the casting director that we worked with was Pat McCorkle. And when a position became available with her, we reconnected because we already had a prior relationship. And I kind of switched gears from producing into casting. So I've been there for several years, and started as an associate. Now I'm a casting director and casting partner with Pat. So we share the company together artistically, and it's been great. I love being in this kind of side of the business, but I haven't abandoned my my like artistic department roots. On the side, I do some dramaturgy work with a great new play company in the city called the Playwrights Realm. So I do some like working with playwrights, just to keep that part of that hat on as well. I just take on more things, but I don't really get rid of the other things.
So I think most actors out there go, oh, casting directors, they terrify us because they're the ones that will get us jobs, So give us a little peek into the life of a casting agent. You know, what things do you do? What's your typical 9 to 5 job?
Yeah. I know it's funny to think that casting directors, I understand why it can be like an intimidating position, I suppose, for actors, because they are the ones who are giving the jobs, but really, casting directors are like advocates for the actors because we are often, I mean, we're like the ones who are bringing people into the room, and we're the ones who know the pool of actors. And so we're really like advocating for those actors for the producers and directors who might not know the people as well, who, so it's often us saying like, you don't know this person, but you should take a chance on them. We know them. We just saw them in an audition last week and they're really great. So it really is like a teamwork. I feel the like relationship between actors and casting directors. I feel like our casting office is a very actor friendly office, and it's important for our office and for me as a casting director that our actors have a good experience and that they feel like taken care of and seen as humans, and that they're valued as people and that their time is valued. So I think I always want actors to know, like, I mean, I feel like the casting director is on your side, that we like want the actors to book the jobs because it makes our jobs
Right.
easier.
So, Becca, 2 things that every actor should never do, guaranteed to make the casting director go, 2 things they should always do that make the casting director go,
Oh, okay. Yes. I'll start with the positive while I mull on the negative. I feel like the always is like you should always read the directions of what we are asking for in the audition. I feel like you have so little in your control as an actor in terms of like what happens when you leave the room, but the one thing that you can control is like, okay, you've asked me for these 2 sides, like in this order, or whatever the material is, whatever we asked in, often now it's, audition tapes more than in the room, of what we've asked for in the slate. Like, we've given you these instructions and we've written it down. And whenever those are not followed, I'm like, oh, that's like the one thing that it's within your control, the other stuff. So I always feel like actors, I like when they read the instructions. So that's an always do. And then, I mean, I think always like come in with the work with yourself, bringing yourself and your best work to the room. I think that's really all you can do as an actor, is be prepared and come in and bring yourself where you are on that day, whatever that means. Just bringing your full self into the space. I think that's an always do. Oh, what not to do, I feel like that's harder.
well, you
I
sort of
would
said
say
it
what
was,
not to do would be don't lie on your resume, because that's something that I see happen. Or like I would say like an embellishment, like we'll see actors who have been in a maybe like an educational program of a major theater, but they will say the the show of just that theater on their resume, and then we'll be like, we actually cast that production, so we know that you were not in that production, and that perhaps you were in Hamlet in the educational department of the theater and not the production of Hamlet that we cast for this major regional theater. So it's a small industry, so I feel like I see that, and I'm always suspect. It always makes me suspect. So that's a no. That's a what not to do. And I don't know, like having boundaries with the people behind the table, being kind to us, like we'll be kind to you. Reciprocal, respect.
Mm-hmm.
Becca, you said, about knowing what you're and bringing yourself. And I just was listening to I think it was a Seth Rudetsky interview, actually, with Mary Sugarman,
Mm-hmm.
who
With
cast,
Tara. Mm-hmm.
who wrote a book, and she was fun. My takeaway was, she said, what you would do in the bathroom with your hairbrush, practicing, bring that.
Yeah, we're looking for like freedom in performance. I think that's what the audience, I think, is looking for also, is to see people as free as possible, within the confines of like the what the circumstances of the scene allow, or the, you know, the style of the piece. But yeah, bringing your like freest version of yourself.
Yeah. How about the kind of, you talked about a little bit that you're an actor friendly area. So is there something that actors can do to kind of help that connection with a casting director to, you know, remind them, hey, I'm out here, you know, what can an actor do to
Yeah,
kind
I
of
feel like
advance themselves?
it's important, I think, for actors to develop relationships with casting directors, and we certainly all the time, yeah, every week, because we're in auditions for different things. Every week we'll be seeing an actor that we're like, oh, not right for this, but right for the other thing that we're casting, and then we'll bring them back in. And we have a lot of actors that we bring in for many, many projects because we know that they're good humans, good to work with, that, you know, we've sent them to theaters and the theaters have had a great experience working with them, that they're like team players in that way. And yeah, I feel like for actors, what they can do to foster that, um I feel like it's a balance where you want to let casting directors know what you're doing. You want to reach out to them when you have like exciting things to share, but you also have to be kind of like have an emotional sensitivity to like how much is too much or what's like the appropriate amount of outreach. And I feel like you have to suss that out, you know? Like I like when actors email me to say like I, you know, booked a guest star on a show and, you know, here it is, or invite me to a show if they feel like it's a worthwhile show for me to come and see. I also like respect if an actor is like, hey, you know, I'm in this show. If you want to come see my work, I don't know how great the show is, but like come to the first act. That's when I'm going to do my bit and like save me some time. Like I appreciate that kind of candor from actors, and for actors to like make it easy for us, be like, here, I set up a ticket for you, come on by. um those are ways to foster relationships. And also, this I know gets a little I don't, not dicey, that's because not dicey, but there are kind of there are companies in the city that actors can go to, like the Actors Connection or One-on-One, where they can meet casting directors and agents, and it is a little bit of a like pay to play situation, but they're like reputable ones where like good agencies and good casting directors go, and there are classes. And so that's one way that you can get in the room with a casting director if you're like, I have no idea how to get in the room with, you know, Tara Rubin or, you know, any of the kind of New York theater casting
The room
companies.
where it happens.
Yeah, the room where it happens. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Invite people.
Yeah, in sports, you know, if an agent has a player who goes, you know, wow, it makes them is it like that with casting directors as well? You know, when you look at your website, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck are some of Chris O'Donnell. So does that, you know, you guys cast them, and does that give you more cred because they came out of your activity? Or is it just something?
Well, I can't take personal credit for any of those because those were
Yeah.
before my time. But Pat did, yes, put many of those young boys in some films at early points in their career. I mean, I don't know. I certainly feel good when we, you know, often with, especially on film projects, we are advocating for actors who might not have as much, you know, buzz around them, but we know are really good. And sometimes producers are skittish because they want to go with somebody who has a name, and that's like a part of the business that is a real part of the business. And I know it feels really good for us when we can kind of push in someone who we know is really good, and then when they blow up, you know, it's very satisfying. But I will say also, what happens all of the time is that we give lists of names to producers and we're like, this actor is great, and in like 3 years you're gonna be like, they're gonna be a big star. And then they're like, oh, our financiers don't know them, and then they don't choose that actor, and then we like see them blow up and we're like, You should have listened to us. You should have listened to us. So it works on both in both.
I think
ways.
a lot of folks don't realize that. They think they're just going to go before a casting director and, it's hello, Dolly, and, you're in or you're out, not realizing that there's that spark that say, oh yeah, I've been looking for someone like that. And I know I've got another project, that you become the advocate, because I think a lot of folks separate agents from casting directors. And there sounds like the advocacy that you do is some agent kind of work also.
Yeah, and I would say like we work closely with directors and producers, but we also work very closely every day with agents. They're probably the people that we talk to the most. So, for an actor, I think that, yes, just as important as it is for an actor to develop a good relationship with casting directors and casting offices, to find their way to a good agency that has also a good relationship with our office, or just from a person to person perspective, there's definitely like agents that we really trust that they have a good roster of clients, and we will go to them for projects and say like, who do you have for this that's available, and trust that they're gonna give us a great list of interesting actors. So that's like most of I feel like on most days I'm talking to agents about which actors are right for things. So so yes. So also having a good agent who can kind of get you in the room is certainly a helpful thing, but it's not the only way. We also give out lots of auditions to actors who don't have agents. So it's not the only way, but it is one way to get in the room. And I also feel like sometimes there's a misconception that the casting director is like making the final call, but like we're the ones deciding who comes into the room, but it's like the producer who makes the final call. So like we might be like, this actor is right, but they might not be chosen, and that's not, they value our opinion, and some producers value casting directors' opinions more than others, but ultimately our job is sort of like presenting a pool of people that we think could be right for the project. So yeah, I feel like if we're bringing an actor back for multiple auditions, like that's a good sign that the casting office likes you and thinks you're a worthwhile actor,
And
even
coffee and donuts then.
if you didn't book the job, because that
Sometimes
part
you just don't look right.
sometimes you just don't. Yeah, sometimes it's just
Maybe
not.
you look like an old girlfriend or an old boyfriend, or
Yeah.
who knows.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like sometimes people have a vision for what they want for the role, and you might just not be that vision, and you can't do anything about that. But if we're bringing you back in for multiple auditions, it's a good sign.
Yeah, we've on the show talked to a lot of people who started, as you said, as an actor, but then they branched out into different areas. But they a lot of times talk about how their original like actor hat sometimes comes back on because of that experience. So for you, as a casting director, are there things that because you spent time acting that you that impacts your decisions and what you look for as a casting director?
I mean, I definitely think it helps me to be empathetic to the experience of the actor in the room. And that could be in terms of like, I can tell when there's a really great director who's giving like good, concise feedback, a good note that an actor can digest in an audition and actually take the note. I see the difference in that than with maybe like a director who's not as actor friendly, who might, talk for a very long time about their vision, but you can see where the actor is like, I can't process this much in an audition. Like you got to, give them like a quick note that they can like then do something with. So I see, I think I have an easier time maybe seeing how the actor is processing that kind of stuff. And I also feel like having been an actor on that side of the table and understanding of what is like an acceptable amount of work. I mean, I think sometimes we also, I feel like, are advocates for the actors, where if we have like theaters who give like 10 pages of sides for an audition, and we're like, you just don't need that. You're gonna get what you need to see from 2 pages. This poor actor is gonna have to be up like memorizing 10 pages of text. You're gonna know within the first minute. So we always like, I think my experience of being an actor in the room in that regard is helpful for advocating for what their experience will be like in
What's
the
the
audition room.
most fun project you've worked on casting?
Oh, I have a lot. It's a wide range. I love casting musicals. Those are very fun to work on. We're doing Cabaret for Barrington Stage right now, and we just did like our big dance call for all of the Kit Kat ensemble, and it was just like you get to see a ton of people and just like some great Fosse dancing. It was, yeah, that was like a very joyous recent casting. And I don't know, any musical, just getting to hear people sing is like a real treat for me. I love working on new plays, so I am always excited when it's a script that I really love, and then you're casting a world premiere, so there's no model for what the role already is. So we get to do a lot of new work. We did, I don't know, we did a new Susan Laurie Parks play last year for the Guthrie, called Sally and Tom, and she's like one of my like favorite. She might be my favorite playwright like out there, and so to get to work with her on a new play of hers and kind of put actors for the first time into those roles was very cool, very exciting for me. Yeah.
You're setting, by doing that, that's setting the stage for subsequent productions.
Yeah, totally. Whoever those first people are often become like the model for how that gets done, over
Yeah,
time. So that's always cool to be a part of that. And then you can see how like bits of those actors influence those characters, often.
it's exciting.
Yeah.
That integrally tied into a production is so wonderful. And also to be in many ways partner with the performer along their process and
No, totally.
how they're proceeding and making their way I'm sure it's very exciting.
Yeah, it's very gratifying, I feel. And then it's gratifying when because we cast a lot of regional theater, so we don't always get to see everything that we cast. But I just went out to see this production of 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee that we did at George Street Playhouse, and it was such a delightful production. And yeah, getting to see it all come together when you've put those pieces in and seeing how the actors grow from the audition to what they put on the stage is also like very, very gratifying.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about the actor side of it, but now let's talk about a little bit the theater side of it. So do you tend to work with the same theaters to help them cast their season? They just keep coming back, or how do new theaters reach out to your agency? How's that all work?
Yeah, every company is a little bit different in regards to that, but we have a lot of long-standing relationships that really, very, very much precede my time. But Pat McCorkle, who I work with, has many long-standing relationships in the industry. So we work with certain regional theaters that we work with sort of on a full season basis. So we'll cast all of the shows that they do. Or some of those regional theaters will be casting like partially locally, and then they bring in actors from New York for either bigger parts or just parts that they might not have in their community. So we cast kind of ongoing throughout the season for like the Guthrie and City Theater in Pittsburgh, and a few theaters like that. And then we also just work with like commercial producers who might bring in like an off-Broadway or Broadway show. So we have some ongoing projects like that. And that's a very relationship driven industry in that way, where people, Pat's been in the industry for a very long time and has a great reputation. So projects kind of come to her in that way. So it's a small world, kind of, the theater industry. It's like really not, I feel like the more time you spend in it, the smaller it feels. So people kind of know each other, and projects kind of happen organically that way. Someone will recommend you for something because you worked on another project with somebody. So
I'm taking a look. I jumped onto the website because you do the Guthrie Theater.
yes, we do.
along with, you said City Theater Pittsburgh and Barrington. Broadway projects currently casting Agnes of God. Is that still, has that already been cast? I mean, that's come around a couple of times, and then something new called Jack Flew.
But you broke up for me on Zoom. I got a Zoom glitch. Can you repeat what you
Oh, yeah, I said, as I'm looking on the website, you're currently casting Broadway Agnes of God.
Yes, yes.
That's come around and come around.
Yes, it's a revival. So we are working on it currently with the original writer and original director and original producer. So I think
Wow.
Agnes, I think it premiered in, I want to say like 81,
Sounds
early
about right.
80s.
Hmm.
So yeah, we're working on a revival. So I can't really share anything about it, to be quite honest, but we are
Can you
working
tell us anything about Jack Flew, which is also what you're casting?
Yes, also in process. Those ones are kind of like you can't share any of the news until they're out to be shared, but they are some in process new. That one's a new play.
Okay, and then TV, you're already looking at the holidays.
Oh, all of our hallmarks. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. We were busy last year with a real little bevy of Hallmark Christmas movies. We did one with the Rockettes, which was very fun, and also it was crazy. We cast it over Christmas, and it was during the Omicron surge Christmas when
Oh, yeah.
Radio City shut down the Rockette show, but it was kind of beautiful timing because we were already working on this, and we put several Rockettes in the film, and so we auditioned for like all the Rockettes. They were all like out of a job for, it was like supposed to be their high season, and everyone got, they were just waiting on the bench. So we got to audition all of them to be in our Hallmark Rockette movie, which was delightful. So we had Anne Margaret, and yeah, we got a great like Broadway cast, which was really nice. They're very open to getting New York theater actors in their films, which is great for us. We like to be able to give like, good jobs and nice paychecks to New York theater actors.
Now the doors are back open to have auditions, in person. What do you think is the future for video auditions?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'll tell you how we're doing things these days. I would say for theater, we're often doing a first round of an audition as a self-tape. So an actor will get their material, they'll tape with a reader and submit it to us. And then from there, we will work with our team and, make a cut for a callback and then do an in-person callback live. So it's sort of a mix. And that's been working really nicely. We prefer it. And I think most of our clients prefer that because we get to cast a wider net if when we do a first round on tape. If someone's out of town, if they're on tour, if they're working a gig that they wouldn't be able to come in for an audition, all of those people are now able to audition. And there's usually some really great people who are like out working gigs who we wouldn't get to see otherwise. But it is nice, especially for like musical theater, like to be in the room. I mean, it's much harder to cast a musical over tape, but we obviously did a lot of that in the pandemic. And then for film, I everything has been virtual for us for film since the pandemic, and I don't foresee that changing. I think that's kind of the new norm for film, has mostly been actors self-taping, and then we'll often do a callback on Zoom, and we'll have a reader and we'll kind of do it like this, but reading on Zoom, or even sometimes we'll do two actors, then do sort of a chemistry read, but virtually. Or occasionally it'll be like they'll do a tape and then we'll have a meeting, like a creative meeting with the director. But yeah, I think the virtual thing is here to stay. I don't think it's going away.
So do you have any recommendations for any actors listening out there of how to make the best self-tape that they can?
Yeah, I mean, I will say I tend to be a casting director that is like, I don't like actors feeling like they have to like become full producers and spend lots of money and like have the best, fanciest equipment. I think you can make a great self-tape with like get a clean backdrop. You can get like it's called like the bean, just like background that you can buy, or like any other just like simple backdrop, and like a good ring light. And if you just checking, I feel like a lot of like Apple products already have good microphones. We can get like a lav mic, like something that's not expensive, and just as long as you have like good clear sound, we can see you, and you have like not a bunch of stuff in your background. That's like my only kind of tip for self tapes. I don't think they need to be that fancy. And yeah, I feel like other advice for self taping. I don't know. Just I feel like actors can drive themselves crazy with tapes, and I've often heard people use like the 3-take rule, whatever it is for you. I feel like because when you're in the room, you can go in and you can do it twice, and then they're like, see you later, and you can like leave it on the table. But when you're taping as an actor, you could do it like 500 times and still not be satisfied. And I just feel like it's crazy making, and you should just say, I'm doing 3 takes of this and then I'm putting it away, and that's that. And that's like the way to live your life so that you don't make yourself insane.
And probably
That's
keep
what would
the
be
dog.
an addition,
Right. I was
and
gonna say,
nothing
keep the dog
brilliant
out
is going to come on your 50th take, like
Yeah.
you're not, no choice is going to emerge on the 20th take that didn't already happen in the 3rd take. So that's my advice to actors, don't make yourself crazy.
And I would
Isn't that part of being
suggest,
an actor?
yeah.
It's hard enough, it's hard enough to be an actor. Like, give yourself like time, live your life,
I think Benita was saying, make sure your dog is not around. I would also recommend not to have kids playing in the basement. That was my last self tape. It took so long because
You know what?
I keep
I
going.
actually feel like I know so many actors get so stressed out about like outside noise or like whatever. And I'm like, I don't know, like I don't really mind that much if like there's obviously if you can't hear the whole tape, but if there's like one moment and like a siren goes by, like if you were in New York auditioning at Pearl Studios on 8th Avenue, it's like sirens left and right. Like it's fine. I'm not gonna be like, I'm never gonna hire this actor. I mean, people are like living their lives. So I feel like if there's a little moment like that, I think the actors get more concerned with that than the like just doing, your text work and bringing yourself to the actual, circumstances of the play.
Yeah.
Becca, this has been great. We tried a little. I'm so glad you were able to make time for us.
Oh, thank you. It was great to speak with you both.
Yeah. And, if you're listening out there, as Becca was saying, it's all about connections and communication. And, I think that's great sound advice for actors out there, just to be true to themselves and be pleasant people to that you want to work with.
And bring it.
Bring it. Mm-hmm.
Bring it.
Becca Weiss at McCorkle Casting. Thanks so very much. Can't wait to see the stuff you're going to be bringing to us, the actors that you'll be bringing along in the projects that'll be coming out of your office. Thanks so very much. All best.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was great to speak with you.
And for our locals, just one more reminder that you can go and check out Dig by Teresa Rebeck. That's a collaboration between Harbinger and Sand Lake Center for the Arts. And it's the Capital Region premiere of this play of Broadway's most prolific woman playwright, running from April 21st through April 30th, with a free performance on April 20th. Go check it out. It's directed by Patrick White, who we love on the podcast. It's going to be a great time. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time. It's everything, everything, everything.